It's on now. Okay,
Sure.
cool.
And so whenever you were ready.
Okay, I think we're ready to get started. Our pod did documentation for our workshop. First, we are going to go over what documentation actually is, why it's useful and important. Jenny's going to go over README files and commit messages. I'll talk about GitHub pages and wikis, and then Victoria will go over auto documentation. And these are all useful documentation tools that you should be using when software developing. So to start things out, documentation is like a handbook for your program. It's going to include details about your code and instructions on how to run it, just details on like how to put it, what you did to put it together. And it should have everything the person who's reading your code needs to, yeah, use it. Um, Documentation is really important because it's a way of implementing good engineering practices and design principles. So good documentation will provide clarity and enable collaboration with other programmers. It'll make your code easy to maintain and read. It can help with debugging your code if there are problems, um, and also give yourself as a professional and your projects more visibility to employers and yeah, partners. So now Jenny is going to go over READMEs.
So a README is an introduction to a project. It communicates important information, and they are especially crucial for the open source community and collaborating on open source projects. READMEs can be broken up into different components, and at a minimum, you would want to have your project title, your project description, instructions on installation and usage, how to contribute to the project, any kind of license that you may have, your contact information, and then optionally, there's like additional sections like frequently asked questions. This is what your READMEs will use is Markdown. So Markdown's intuitive, it's easy to understand. It's portable, so it can be used on all kind of applications. If efficient, it's fast to write, and it's versatile. So on the left-hand side and the top is like your standard Markdown, and on the right-hand side where it says extended elements, that's your GitHub flavored Markdown that's like works especially with GitHub README or GitHub Markdown files. You can also use HTML inside of Markdown files as well on GitHub. To make life a little easier, they have tools. So I'll go over the Visual Studio Code tool as well as the in-browser tool. This is the one for Visual Studio Code, sorry. It's called Markdown Preview Enhanced. So on your right-hand side, you have like the code for your Markdown, and on the left-hand side is what it's going to look like. So as you're editing the code on the right-hand side, it like updates in real time on the left-hand side. It's helpful for, of course, like seeing what it's going to look like before you even push, but it's also helpful for like small things like, I don't know if y'all can see, but there's like a little logo, like alt text. There's supposed to be a picture there, but because the pathway is wrong, it just shows up as the alt text, which is like really helpful for seeing before you even push it. This is the in-browser version. It's called readme.so. It's a website. On the left-hand side, you can click the different sections that you want in your README, and in the middle, it'll have a text editor where you can modify the text and everything. On the right-hand side is where it's going to update in real time to update in real time. Yeah. It's important to keep your README files up to date because it's going to be your first point of contact. So you want it to be concise, to the point. It'll save time for people who are working on the project with you or want to contribute in some way. They won't have to like guess what the project is about or how to push to it, any of that. Encourages collaboration. I forgot. Yeah. It encourages collaboration. Shows organization and professionalism. This is like what your users are going to see, as well as the people who want to collaborate with you and possibly even like stakeholders. And makes it easy to discover in a sense that like your README is going to have information. Not everybody has a README, but like your search result will show a clear README. I have a few examples. I'm just going to go over ours. And then this GitHub link at the bottom is a repo full of other READMEs that people have made. So this is what ours looks like. We have our sample little template logo. We have our title, our description. We have a template for this stuff as well. So that way, if y'all want to use the template, you will have like the information on how to do like these little buttons and stuff. Sample image, description, how to contribute, the prerequisites you need. We have a roadmap.
Yeah. And
The thing about that is that gets rendered, the Markdown gets rendered directly on GitHub. What do you mean?
Yep.
What do you mean? If you go back to the page,
in Control Tab, Control Shift Tab.
so this is the page, the landing page for their GitHub project that would be publicly searchable and exposable to everyone else on the internet. And so when you scroll down, if you have that README page, it actually renders all that beautiful content.
Okay, and so moving on to an introduction to commit messages.
Yeah, I don't know how to make it full screen again. Maybe F11.
Nice. As an introduction to commit messages, what are commit messages exactly? They should be brief descriptions of what you changed in the project. So we have like some examples on the right-hand side where it says like update, fix, feature, edit. Those are your commit messages. And this is from GitHub. Why it's important to have commit messages is you can track your changes over time of the entire project. It makes collaboration and debugging easier because you can track down like where errors have occurred, and it makes for faster code review. Some best practices are capitalization. You want to have capitalization in your commit messages, and you don't want to use punctuation. So you don't want to add periods at the end. You want to use imperative action. You can optionally include a commit type at the beginning. So for feature, fix, refactor, doc style. It's like a summary within a summary kind of. The length needs to be, well, not needs to be, but should be 50 characters or less. And the content should be what you did to the project. So if you updated the README formatting, or if you added a new functionality, stuff like that. Common mistakes would be rambling and not stating what the commit was for. So this is just like some image off of Google of a example. Like finish is not a good commit message because what does that mean? And the dates are not useful. This is how I'm aware that like some people might not know how to write or like how to do commits. So this is how you would do it in VS Code. You want to have your repo cloned locally first, and then it'll give you the option to work in your repo from there. Once you do that, then you'll go to this source control center on the left-hand side. You can write your commit message in that red box, and then the commit message, the commit button will turn like a bright blue, and you'll be able to push it directly to GitHub. This is how you would do it in the terminal. It should be uniform between different operating systems. Like this is on Git Bash, but it works on Mac OS as well. You'll just write git commit -m, and then you'll have your message. And so I have two smaller points about this. One, if you want to, this will be like your title by default on GitHub. You can also write a description of the commit. And if you wanted to do that, you could do another -m and then a string at the end of that as well. And then my second point was that this actually doesn't use imperative action. It's not a good commit message. So you would want to be like, make my first commit or made my first commit. The git status at the bottom will show that it was successfully committed, and then you can git push after this. And this is how to do it in the browser. Directly from GitHub, they'll have an add files button. You'll put them at the top, and then at the bottom is where you put your commit. And the description is optional.
So moving on, I just wanted to quickly share some benefits that you can get from GitHub Education if you apply for the Student Developer Pack. The link is down here, and all you have to do is submit proof that you're a student, and you get unlimited repositories, Copilot, which is the AI, is their AI that like helps you produce code faster. And it also has a lot of courses available to for various like tools and like topics, and even has like learning paths if you were interested in say like cybersecurity or being a web developer. It's a really useful way to learn. They also you can also get a custom domain for it as well. Did you have a question?
Yeah, how long does it last?
I think a year. I think you can renew it every year, as long as you're a student. Yeah. Like I said, the link is down here, and it'll also like go into more detail about like what benefits they have. So I brought up custom domains because GitHub offers this free static web hosting service called GitHub Pages. Just by having an account, you can make a user site like that you can use like as your portfolio or it's really handy. And on top of that, you can have unlimited websites for repository projects. And docs are down here. This is an example of the web page for our repo that we made to put together this presentation. It's really bare bones, but it's neat. And if you don't know any HTML, it's really fast and easy. It's really accessible, and you should definitely take advantage of it. I'll show you how to set things up. It's pretty simple. You just have to create a repository first for either a user or a project web page. If you're doing it for your profile, the repository should be named your username.github.io. Then you'll have to clone your repository to work on it locally on your computer. After that, you can create some type of file. When the website gets deployed, it'll look for like an index.html or a readme.md file. And then you can just publish it by pushing it, adding it, pushing it, adding it, committing it, pushing it. And then you can go to, sorry. Okay. After you publish it, meaning you add it, commit it, and push the changes, you'll have to go back to your browser into your settings, into the repo settings, and then go to the Pages tab, and then choose a branch and like parent or root folder to deploy the website from, if that makes sense. So there's a GIF here of me doing it. I'm choosing the master branch, and I'm choosing, you can host it from your docs or your root folder. I just put it in docs to show that you can do that. Basically, you just need to point to wherever your index.html file or your entry file is. Then I wanted to briefly touch on like how it all works. GitHub Pages is powered by Jekyll, which is a static site generator, and it basically creates a website for you really easily. It's built into GitHub, so you have to enable GitHub Actions for it to for you to use Jekyll. But you can also deploy your website from a branch, which basically means like you can manually deploy your website. So if you have code for a website and you put it in a doc in a folder and deploy that site, it'll only update and make changes if you add it, push it, add it, commit it, and push it. So it won't update automatically. That's what GitHub Actions can do.
So you can't have JavaScript?
You can. So that's like a file it's like a configuration file for your website. Like I said, so the file will be on your local environment, but it doesn't get updated to your repository until you push it. So nobody the website won't be up to date until you commit those changes. Now I'll go over how to set it up. No, I won't. Did I already do that? Yeah, I did. Okay, so it's really handy to be able to make a website on the fly like that. Like I said, GitHub Pages is powered by Jekyll. It's actually something that you need to download and install, and it also requires, you also need Git installed, and Jekyll has some prerequisites, which are Ruby, Ruby Gems, and GNU's Make and GCC. So that's a lot of install, but but at the same time, you can make a lot of like really cool looking pages. If that's too much effort, there are actually supported themes that you can look at here. Maybe I won't show the supported themes, or maybe I just won't do anything. Thanks. Please. It's Google Chrome's just like not happy.
How's everyone feeling so far about the presentation? Good. Is it informative with you? Yeah. Is there any new things you've learned so far about the presentation? Like did you guys know about the GitHub pages or anything like that? Are you guys gonna make a GitHub page?
Things about GitHub pages, there's no reason if you have a static site, which means that it's not reliant on some kind of web service or web server. There's no reason why you shouldn't just not use GitHub pages to host for free.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of like web hosting sites out there. You can just publish your web content for free through GitHub. And so every project page should have a web page that defines it, not just a README page, but an actual like HTML embedded web page.
Yeah, it looks really sleek, and when you're trying to get a job or like interviewing, you can just say like, hey, this is my website. It has all the projects I'm working on it, and if it looks nice, like that just increases your chances of getting hired. So there's a lot of really good benefits of having your own website, especially that it's free. Like I have a lot of friends who have paid for their own domains. It's not expensive, but like you could do it for free. The web page that I showed you earlier of our website, I can
share with you a link inside the chat on Zoom of one that I built as well. Share that on the GitHub page.
Sure. So this is the website that we made. I haven't really added anything to it, and yet it looks clean. It has a table of contents where you can like go and look at our wiki pages, and you can view it here on GitHub, and it's using the supported template minimal, I think. Let me reload this. Do any of you guys have your own websites? Sweet. How did you make it? How long did it take you?
A while.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to know any kind of web development. I mean, I got to learn a little bit about HTML by doing this just because I wanted to understand, just because I like wanted to do that, but there are also a lot of templates that you can import directly into your repository, like the purple one that y'all saw before is something that you could just download from the link, and it gives you a zip file. You what is it called? Extract it into your repository, and it does all the work for you. You just have to like edit the text in it. Cool.
You click on the chat channel. Just want to see another example. So the one that I had built, so using Jackal, I custom made an HTML page with some JavaScript. So you can see here. This is an example. And then if you click on game, if you go down, you can scroll down. And so this could be like your public-facing page that advertises whatever your product is, hosted through GitHub pages.
Yeah.
And you can embed JavaScript, CSS styling, Bootstrap, HTML, whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't
This is not a template, no, I do know that. But if you scroll all the way to the very bottom,
Don't see, I don't think I can.
oh, is it broken?
I think so. Yeah, but it's still really impressive just like from here.
That's really cool.
Let me see if these like links work. Enrollment, cybercam. Um, I yeah, it just goes to show like you can do a lot. You can, if you wanted to learn HTML yourself, you could. It's just a useful tool.
You said they have for
I don't know if there's one exactly for, I'm sure there's one for GitHub pages. But we also have a wiki where I like put all the instructions down there and I can help you in person. Like that's what we're here for. So let me get back to where I was. Okay, I wanted to point out this is a Jekyll theme. So it's not inherently supported. You would have to download Jekyll to be able to use it. Or you can actually, there's like a repo for this theme that you can like clone and use as a template. And this was what I was talking about where, you go to this website, download the zip file, extract it, you have a pretty website. You can also use a custom domain. There's more information about that in the wiki if you have a domain already, which you guys said you didn't. Now, I just want to talk about some good practices for your GitHub pages. It should be detailed, like people want to know about your project, so you got to tell them like what it's about. You got to sell it. You should keep it up to date because if your program is broken, like no one's going to want to use it. It should be well structured and easy to navigate. Like it shouldn't be a headache to like try to click around because they could easily just like close the tab and like move on. There are also like cool tricks that you can like cool styling and formatting tricks that you can use if you want to learn a little bit of Markdown. It's pretty easy. It's not super complicated at all.
when you said it hosts only static websites
Right. So a static
as opposed to
dynamic sites. A static website doesn't change. Like no matter what computer you access it from, it's going to look the exact same. An example of a dynamic website would be Twitter. Every time you open up Twitter, it's going to look different because it like pulls different content. It is like tailored to your experience or your browsing history. Yeah. Which is fine for like a portfolio website. So another form of documentation you can use that's already integrated within GitHub is a wiki. It's a section in every repository that you can use to host long form documentation. And the great thing about this is that you can edit it completely in browser. You don't have to clone it locally to be able to edit it. I will say it's a lot faster if you like make edits locally because you don't have to commit every single change and you can preview it with the extension that Jenny mentioned earlier. Markdown preview all in one, I think it's called. This is an example of our wiki. I can go through it really quick. So this is like the body of it. There's a pages that lists every single page that's in the wiki, along with like hyperlinks to every subsection. You can add a custom sidebar. If you wanted to do this locally, you could clone it by like git clone and this URL in whatever directory you're in. You can also add a footer okay. Not super relevant. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. I should have restarted my computer before. So I think the next slide is going to be setting it up, but here we are. To set it up, it's even simpler. You just go to the settings again, scroll down, and there'll be a checkbox to enable wikis. That's literally it. Then you can go to the wiki tab at the top of your repository. Because it's enabled now, and there will be a there are a lot of detailed instructions on how to set up a wiki in our wiki. So you can look at it there. Basically, you just add your first page and then keep adding pages and edit it however much you want. That's pretty much it. Some good practices for an effective wiki would be kind of the same as your GitHub pages. They should be detailed and up to date and well structured and easy to navigate. Use Markdown formatting to contrast like different sections. It's already in your repository. You really shouldn't be repeating information that's already in your README. The information should have something to add. There's this repository that's really cool that gives you a lot of tips and tricks on how to make a beautiful wiki as well as a lot of other example pages that are really nice, like this one. And that's it for me. So Victoria's gonna.
So hey guys, we're gonna talk about a specific type of auto documentation. It's basically a generator tool that can translate plain text source files. If your directory uses like restructured text or markdowns, it can generate HTML with web pages and PDF files and EPUB. So I'll go over how to install Sphinx. So the prerequisite is that you do need Python versions 3 or above. 2.7 is fine. For me personally, when I was downloading Python, I was having issues, but that's because for your download setup in Windows, you have to make sure you check pip in your in the path file. And then for Mac OS, for Mac OS, you would use Python 3. Once you have that set up, you're finally ready to do your install for Sphinx. For Windows, you use pip. Linux, you use apt-get, and then for Mac, you'll use brew install. Okay, and then you'll set up your environment next after all your installation's done. So you'll create a folder in your local directory. And once that's created, you'll go ahead and open VS Code Studio and you'll create a README file. And it's going to be readme.rst, which is the restructured text. So for my readme.rst, I made it to where it was customized to our presentation. So in here, I have how to set up your Sphinx documentation and the different files that you'll see in your setup. So it'll include your overview, your Git repo, your folder documentations, and I added little descriptions of each of your files that you will have. After this, I've also set up in Visual Code a word wrap setting so that when you're typing in your README files or anything on VS Code, the length of your words won't go off of the code itself. And I also added the extensions restructured text. Once that's done, you'll go back into your folder and you'll create a pathway and use the command line code python-venv.venv, which is setting up your virtual environment, and it includes imported things such as your library, your packages, and and then next you'll also do the command sphinx-quick start docs, and it's going to ask you if you want to create your source files and your build files in separate folders or just to do your build file and your root file. And then after that, it's going to ask you for your project name. So it's documentation, and then it's gonna ask for your authors, which is me, Victoria, and Jenny, and then the project release, I just put like 0.1. Then you want to click English because your code's in English. And once that's all set up, it's going to it's going to create 2 files in your source folder. It's going to be your config file for Python, and it's going to be your index or ST file. In your config file, you're going to have your import information. You're going to have your project name and the authors and everything like that, plus your extensions and the theme of your web page, because I decided to do an HTML web page for your Sphinx documentation. And then I created, well, this is the first main root document file that you'll see. So this information includes your overview of your Sphinx, what it supports, some definitions, which is like your talk tree, which is kind of like a table of content that goes in alphabetical order on your web page. And you also want to include your text files in your talk tree. So the next one would be usage. This one really shows all information about how to install Sphinx, just to show like a example of how it will look like. Your next file will be your customization file. So in this file, I added a lot of different markups and markdowns. This really shows like some of your practices that Jenny mentioned with markdowns, where your text for your headers needs to be the same length. So for example, right here, your paragraph markup right here, the reason why the assignment symbol is so long is because if you were to cut it off to like 4 assignment symbols, it's gonna, your terminal is gonna go crazy and say that it doesn't match. And then once you're finished with all of your files that you made, so there's 3 files already, you want to build your HTML. So you're gonna do sphinx.build -m HTML.source and .build. Once all of that is done, you do make HTML. And so this is the result of it. So once all of those files have been rendered, you're going to do the make HTML, and it's going to be on your local drive. But you want to be able to share this documentation with others. So much like how Nidhi presented to us the GitHub page, I was able to make a repo and upload my files to the repo. So this is what it looks like. So this first page is your index page that I created with the file. This is your usage page. And then this is your customization page. And then on the left side, if you see the little the table of contents is also like showing your headers, your subheaders. For our project specifically, I know we're going to use a lot of coding, so we'd want to explain what each code is. So if we have a class code, you'd want to create a documentation of that. You also want your method, you also want functions and objects. These are just some examples that others have made. So this one's by Lucy. There's also this one and the Sphinx documentation website. And then there's another way to host your web pages that isn't just GitHub. You can also do Read the Docs, which is what theme that I use for Sphinx. And so you can create an account on Read the Docs and import your Git repository and clone it there and host your website that way. And I believe that's it. Is there any questions about Sphinx? I know it's a lot of like steps and technicalities.
So is it just an alternative?
Yeah, so it's definitely good for like when you have like a big project and you want to show off your project. And with how we're adding so many different parameters and classes and methods for like our upcoming projects, we'd want to have all that listed instead of like it everywhere. It's kind of like a Java doc, but it's with Oracle, but this is more like for documentation on Sphinx and on Python and everything. Okay.
So thanks, Victoria. Out of documentation, it is really cool and it looks really good. It saves you a lot of time too. So yeah, if you have questions about setting it up, definitely ask us. But to end our presentation, we wanted to have like this little silly activity and look at this README, and we just want to ask you what you think of it, what makes it good or not good, and how you can change it. So here we are. We have a README. It says,
Bienvenue sur ma page web, and je m'appelle Robert, j'aime les croissants. And then, and then, we have the project title, the description, the installation, usage, and the contribution. What's wrong with this readme so far? Like, what do you see are the errors of this practice?
Installation that time.
no,
Different ways.
yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah, you don't really know, like you can't even see like what the project even is, what it's called. Yeah. Yeah, just it's a broken image link. And yeah. Hey, hey, hey. I mean, I don't know how you aren't going blind from the normal.
That flash blinding is I could do it.
Yeah. So I was actually gonna have like I had this idea to do like an ARG. If you guys know what that is. Yeah, it's an alternate reality game. So I said in the presentation, like something's kind of weird about it. And I was gonna like have some clues, and then you had to figure out like it points to a website, and then the website had some cool stuff. But I didn't get to do that. But I still hope you enjoyed the presentation, that it was helpful, and we can absolutely help you with making your own website. We can make our project website look really pretty. And then finally, the deliverables that we ask of you to give to us as part of project 2. We just want you to make a README, a nice looking README, or a user web page or a project page or a project wiki for each one of your pods. Like there are 3 of you guys in each pod. You guys only have to do 1. And hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with this, even though
There's no choice for you to think.
you absolutely.
That makes me so happy. Because for Sphinx, I didn't use Jekyll. I actually deployed it from the branch and did it that way. So it doesn't like auto update, or I didn't use any of their themes. So definitely let me know if you're using Sphinx and I will help you because that's exciting.
I mean, down the line, like when we have like larger scale projects, you're gonna want to use auto documentation. It's just like where we're at. We don't have any like big projects like that. It's a lot to set up. I know it gave you a lot of headache.
If you want to look at some other projects that are out there to see how the like auto documentation looks on that, if you go to pypi.org, I'm sure it's pypi.org.
Why?
Pypi.org. That's effectively when you have pip, which is like your package manager for Python, so that you can install public pypi.org.
Yes.
You can come here and kind of explore some of these. So for instance, maybe do Pygame, for instance, PYGAM, or NumPy, or so yeah, that. So yeah, select first one there. And you'll see, you can kind of explore and see all the documentation here that we can auto-generate. And if you, and then they have the various topics or whatnot where you can explore.
Bad.
Actually, do Pi game, go back. I think this is this version of Pi game that's not supported. Concatenate Pi and game together. And yeah, and do that most recent. See, they'll also give you the updates on here. And presumably, if we want to install, make our code available to Github, it'd be all the documentation would be available through here. So we can actually make our code publicly exposable and searchable as well if we create like APIs that are clean enough that other people can import into their environments. And here, so click on one of those topics, for instance, and here you can start to see the separation of all your code responsive. So if you want to kind of explore what other projects look like, this is a really good
What do they do?
Sphinx?
Yeah, they probably use Sphinx.
Yeah. It was, yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the advantage of learning these tools. This is what's actually like used to go ahead and create the documentation that you would use as a developer to learn how to use any one of the modules and libraries.
So
You
this
did a
is
good
the-
job kind of touching on how documentation permeates across an entire project, from as micro level as like the Git commit messages all the way up towards the user facing pages.
Does anybody have any questions, comments, feedback, concerns, admiration?
I would just say, something that you discussed early on about the commits, and I just know some specific companies or teams that they will have specific commit messages based on the project. If there's like large scale or whatever. So I feel like that's also interesting whenever you're working, whatever, to like ask for that as well if they do any.
Yeah. Yeah. Commit messages make it easier to track like what went wrong, what happened. You can see our commit messages here. Feel free to play around with our repository and use it as a guideline. We also have samples in here. I can upload those templates that I was talking about, but Jenny has this blank README that you can use for your project READMEs. Yeah, we can show our user profiles because you know, when you like, you can customize it a lot. I have like a little GIF here, and
And to clarify, these are also readmes. They're
Yeah.
just the user profile read
yeah,
instead of a project.
So this is under GitHub profile.
Yeah.
So you load into your profile. It's this really nice,
yeah. The way
professional looking.
absolutely. And like I said, you know, when you're trying to get a job and talking to employers, like you're gonna stand out if your profile looks clean and professional rather than somebody who's like, you know, doesn't have anything on it, doesn't have a picture of them, doesn't like you don't have any information about who they are. And like I even have my website linked here, which is empty and broken, but it's there. That's it.
Excellent. And for any of you who are interested in learning more about HTML and CSS or JavaScript, I can make optionally some workshops that I have available web dev class. So all of that I have pre-recorded online and available with a playlist. So I'll highlight the ones that I think would be interesting. If you wanted to learn more, where you can go to kind of build out your own kind of project in a guided step-by-step way.
You know, post it.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Great job.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Really? Got a drum line?
Yep.